Today we have got Corbin Page, founder of Gigbot.
So I got kind of obsessed with the idea of, one public ledger where all kind of activity took place in one way. It was immutable, right? Everybody kind of had the same database on all their different systems. And that's when I started hearing about Ethereum and started playing around with Ethereum and writing my first smart contracts. Back in the day, that was with Truffle and Infura and Metamask. And so I was doing my hedge fund job during the day, and I got so obsessed with crypto that I had to kind of jump into the space. We believe that AI agents are going to use crypto rails for all types of payment, investing type activities. And so we built Gigbot as a way to get agents to be able to transact easily. And so I kind of had blinders on to a lot of the actual benefits of Bitcoin, just because I was already pretty well served as a consumer. And so I missed it, really. It wasn't till I kind of saw Ethereum in 2015, 16, 17 that I really was like, oh, smart contracts I get. Oh my gosh, this is a permissionless way to do a swap.
And I always say that anyone can achieve 5x, 10x in a bull run. The challenge is how many people do you know or can find, or have you experienced 100x or 1000x?
It's only 20% of people really care at all about trading in the stock market or have Robinhood or wants to play around with financial stuff, all day long, right? There's 80% of people that couldn't care less about that type of thing, and 20% of people that like it a lot. A lot of them end up finding crypto because of those dominant use cases I mentioned, right? It is a very financialized type space to begin with. Anything where you're kind of exchanging money for some kind of good or service. But what we've done with Gigbot is we've made it internet native. We've made sure that AI agents and humans are both invited to the table. And so we're not trying to block out all the AI agents, and we're not saying it's just for them either. We actually don't even care kind of who completes tasks on Gigbot. It could be AI or it could be human, and we'll see how that evolves over time as AI agents gain more capabilities.
It can have an opportunity to do a lot more nominal tasks in one segment, but it can also have an opportunity to do something really unique and special tasks, right? So if I want education, if I want financial advice, if I want someone to do big write-up, those are, I think the small and fun stuff is really interesting. I completely agree. But I think the bigger opportunity might come from much more specialized and tailored approach.
So yeah, just to round it out, if you want to earn crypto tokens, it's super easy. Just come here, look at all the different tasks, complete the tasks, and start earning tokens right away. If you do that and really enjoy it, you want to get a little bit more involved and actually create different tasks to say, follow you on X, or boost and get a bunch of retweets on your tweets. Start playing around with creating gigs, because it's a really cool ecosystem that's in the early days. But usage has been kind of off the charts over the past few weeks, so I've been trying to keep up with all that. But that's the application.
वेलकम टू डिजिटल दुनिया पॉडकास्ट, एक और नए मज़ेदार शख्सियत के साथ. Today we have got Corbin Page, founder of Gigbot. This session is going to be very interesting. I've seen what Gigbot does, and it is super exciting to explore it with Corbin. Welcome to the show, Corbin.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here today.
Excellent. Before we jump into it, Corbin, can you help our viewers understand about you, what's your background and what you have done so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a long-term crypto builder. So I've been building in the crypto space for almost about 10 years now. So before that, I was in traditional finance, working at a couple large hedge funds, Bridgewater and then Millennium. And while I was working, I was working on the tech side there. And so we were working at making sure all these traders, all their different trades went through, and kind of running all those processes. So I got kind of obsessed with the idea of, one public ledger where all kind of activity took place in one way. It was immutable, right? Everybody kind of had the same database on all their different systems. And that's when I started hearing about Ethereum and started playing around with Ethereum and writing my first smart contracts. Back in the day, that was with Truffle and Infura and Metamask. And so I was doing my hedge fund job during the day, and I got so obsessed with crypto that I had to kind of jump into the space. And so I ended up joining Joe Lubin and the Consensus team as an early employee back in 2017. I ended up joining about a month before the ICO boom kind of took off. So the timing was pretty incredible. I spent, probably 6 or 7 years at Consensus, building all types of things, tokenized real world assets, and was eventually head of product for all of our fintech products. So if you've ever used Metamask swaps, Metamask staking, Metamask institutional, those were all products started while I was there. Basically anything that makes money. We kind of ended up starting back in 2020, right as kind of DeFi took off, and then the NFT boom after that. Still love the consensus folks, but I ended up going independent about 3 years ago, where I work on my own crypto projects. So we try to work on things that are right at the frontier, right? So try to kind of see what's around the corner and what's going to be the next big sector of the crypto space. So I've worked on everything from account abstraction wallets to some prediction market applications. And now we're kind of working on our first application for AI agents. We believe that AI agents are going to use crypto rails for all types of payment, investing type activities. And so we built Gigbot as a way to get agents to be able to transact easily. So excited to talk about that today.
Thank you for that overview, Corbin. AI agents are super exciting. We did a podcast yesterday with someone who's working on EV infra with AI agent mixed into it, and it was such a fascinating conversation. They're building on Solana, but that's a different story for a different time. Coming back, so what are we going to do now? Normally, we would just dive into your personal story, but we've got a twist today. So before we jump in there, I'm going to ask you a quick fire round, a few questions which can lay out the tone of the remaining conversation. Okay, are you ready?
Let's do it.
So first thing that comes to your mind when I say Bitcoin,
Store of value,
Ethereum,
world computer,
Gigbot,
AI commerce,
future of AI agents.
bullish, very, very bullish.
If you had to pick one AI agent as of now, it could be for any reason. What's the first one that would come to your mind?
Yeah, I think my favorite at the moment, so I follow the space really closely. My favorite at the moment is Banker, if you've seen Banker.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so yeah, so it's built by Deployer, who's kind of like this very, very, very impressive dev. I followed their projects, through many of the years, and they're one of the first people that have really nailed a DeFi and crypto kind of trading bot that's built right into X and Farcaster. You can speak to it in any type of natural language, and it has a very, very high percentage of getting all the transactions right. I'm a Banker Club member myself, and there are a bunch of people that have kind of gone after this idea, but from what I've seen, Banker's kind of executed the best on it. And so if you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. It can swap any kind of token for you that you need.
I'm going to park on this point because I'm coming back because I'm going to use your brain and experience to give me some insight. More importantly, for our audience, that would help them understand. Okay, so coming back to our quick fire, last two questions. Where do you see we end up by end of 2025? Because currently there has been a lot of turmoil left, right, and center. No one knows what's happening. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, this year is much crazier than everybody kind of saw coming, both good and bad. I'm based in the US, and from a regulatory perspective here, it's never been better, right? The amount of things from the sovereign, the digital asset stockpile and the sovereign Bitcoin reserve, right? Like, we've never seen this type of regulatory environment to say, hey, come build crypto products and crypto applications within the US. So that's on the good side. On the more tough side is the macro environment has been ridiculously volatile. That doesn't have as much to do with crypto as it has to do with the different trade disputes that are going on, kind of the reorganizing of some of the economic things going on here in the U.S. and really all around the world. So for crypto specifically, for building applications, things around stablecoins, things that consumers can actually use as helpful application, I've never been more excited. For the crypto ecosystem overall, and specifically prices, it's really anyone's guess because this year could be very, very choppy with all the volatility.
And I agree. I come from a TradFi background as well. Spent about 15 years in that, and I understand that. So every matrix that's focusing on industry as a whole, growing and consolidating, you can name it, and everything is big grin tick. Yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately, at the same time, we have got every macro factor that we can imagine is red cross, red cross. So yeah, it's as you said, it's anyone's guess. But I've got a sense that we should hit into much more calmer market, and not markets, but volatility is going to be high, but it's going likely to be much more settling down towards the end of the year. Early next year could be a pretty good time.
I think after summer or early next year, as you said, 2026 could tend to be a very, very good year. 2025, it's really anyone's guess, and it's been brutal so far. I have notifications on, and it's been quite stressful so far.
I'm going to share with you something before we jump on to our next topic. So we've started a Digital Duniya newsletter 4 weeks ago, and it's been such a joy to do that. So I'm going to send you out and ask you to check it out and give us your feedback. Now, moving on, Corbin, what we normally do is we try and focus on human story because those are much more powerful and connecting with all of us, right? So where did you grow up? Where did you go for schooling or university?
Yeah, so my background, so I grew up here in the States. I actually grew up in kind of a smaller state called North Carolina. Grew up there kind of my whole life. It's kind of in more the southern part of the U.S. Ended up, I was always kind of a bit of a math and science geek, and so I ended up going to school for engineering at Duke University. Studied biomedical engineering, which is kind of crazy because now I play around with magical internet money all day, so something totally different. But I grew up kind of around the time of the tech boom in kind of the or it's kind of the early 2010s,
Mhm.
when fintech wasn't even a category.
Yeah.
Bitcoin had launched, but nobody knew about it, or the people that did know about it were a very, very niche kind of small group. And so, Web 2 was kind of still taking off and kind of had its
Mm.
growth years kind of ahead of it with Facebook and then Instagram and then mobile came. And so I grew up, in my professional career, I did software as a service for a couple
Mm.
years, specializing in kind of the financial sector, which led me to a couple of the hedge fund jobs that I had right before entering crypto. So I guess you could say timing was lucky enough to kind of get me into tech, give me a little bit of financial experience, and then we all know with crypto, it's such a hodgepodge of different types of skill sets you need, right? You need technology, you need finance, you need game theory, you need governance, you need this so it's all these types of skills that I've kind of had to pick up along the way, but at least I got to start out with that tech and finance background when I jumped in.
Just to tie up some timeline. So when did you actually graduated from Duke and start your career?
Graduated in 2010. We actually just had our 15-year college reunion here, so about
Wow.
15 years ago. Yeah.
Uh, and Corbin, there's something that I always say that resonates with a lot of people. I'm not sure if it will resonate with you equally, but I feel that places, locations have got characters, right? So whether we like it or not, we imbibe a lot from the places that we have grown up, or we were born, or where we went to university. And it leaves an impact on us. And the funny part, or the most interesting part, is, say, for example, at 30, if you look back and try and imagine how those locations, those geography, that environment contributed to you, you will have one answer. You ask yourself the same question at 40, you might come up with a different answer. And later in life, you might be seeing it very differently. So, long story short, coming back to the question, if you were to say, what did you imbibe from all the places that have played significant part in your life?
Yeah, I would say my biggest thing is so I spent most of my 20s in New York, in Manhattan, where it's like, that is the top of the top, right? Like everybody that's ambitious, a lot of them end up in New York after a while. And that go-go culture was fantastic while I was kind of in my 20s. Before that, I am very grateful. I kind of grew up in North Carolina where things were, I guess, a little bit more calm. I certainly didn't have the exposure to, financial media, fashion leaders that you do if you kind of grow up in like a midtown Manhattan, but you get a sense of what your everyday user is like, right? So as a product developer, I want to make sure that I have a good mental model for what users care about. And they're not going to have, a background in tech and finance and game theory and all these things we need to kind of build in crypto. They just want to use an app and either make some money, find connection, get a job done. And so I think that's kind of helps inform my product development. mindset is just like, remembering how my neighbors interacted and remembered how people that, didn't always have the latest iPhone was, right? Like they just kind of wanted to quickly get a job done and get on with their lives and go hang out with their kids. So I would say, the biggest thing I take away from my background is a strong kind of mindset of what users really, really care about versus like sometimes us tech nerds can kind of get into the weeds and get excited about the most, cutting edge ZK, TLS type research. But it's like at the end of the day, you got to solve real problems for real people.
That is so true because most of my friends and family around, and uh, it's so hard. Like, when I get excited about what's happening in techno, and after 2, 3 minutes, they just go blank. What are we having for meal? Where are we going? And I'm like, okay. So I think this is a running challenge that we all come across, that we get so consumed by what we are doing. And even though it's groundbreaking, we are still on very periphery. We are not mainstream yet. So it will take time before we hit that point, but it's always exciting to come across those kind of stories. Thank you for sharing your personal story with us. Moving on, one of the most common thing that we all connect in crypto Web3 is everyone has got a Bitcoin story when they first figured it out, when they first started buying it, or whatever that story is. So what's your first Bitcoin story?
Oh, that's a good one. I probably first got into Bitcoin on Hacker News, the Y Combinator site. So I was big into kind of Hacker News as kind of like a young, ambitious dev, kind of in my early 20s. I know I bought my first Bitcoin in the 2013 cycle. And so if you go way back in time and zoom in, there was
Mine
this
got
little
Mount Gox time.
Yep, exactly. And I think it peaked at like maybe $130 or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but that was the first time I bought a little just to kind of experiment it. And I always tell people this. I kind of missed it a little bit. I was like, this is cool, but like, especially in the West, we had decent P2P payment systems and we had pretty good banking services. And so I kind of had blinders on to a lot of like the actual benefits of Bitcoin, just because like I was already pretty well served as a consumer. And so I missed it really. It wasn't till I kind of saw Ethereum in 2015, 16, 17 that I really was like, oh, smart contracts I get. Oh my gosh, this is a permissionless way to do a swap, or this is, new asset creations. I remember when the ERC20 spec was coming out. And so it was really Ethereum that I kind of hit me and got into the space. I wish it had been Bitcoin. Gosh, it would have been much better if it had been Bitcoin, right? But yeah, it was kind of when Ethereum kind of became on the come up that I really had enough conviction to jump into the space.
And I always say that, like, all the stories that I've heard about Bitcoin and even Ethereum, right? So most people think that, like, because it's financialized and monetized, right? This technologies. So they think in terms of 5x, 10x. And I always say that, like, anyone can achieve 5x, 10x in a bull run, right? The challenge is, like, how many people do you know or can find, or have you experienced 100x or 1000x? The only people starting from 2010 onwards with Bitcoin, someone who has achieved that kind of 1000x gain, in retrospect, we can all see that, like, that would have been such amazing, but you will struggle to find 10 people who would have done that, right? And the challenge is that it only comes with strong conviction, and strong conviction comes with deep knowledge, even if it's flawed. But you need to be crazily, madly in love with someone and so consumed by it to understand or imagine about it. And most people don't do that. It's too hard because it takes a lot of time and energy to get consumed and focus so much on something. And that's why I always say that, like, it's really good to have 5x story or 10x story, but the real stories are 1000x because they don't happen. They happen for some special reasons.
Yeah, there's a saying that goes around the industry that says, a trade is really two parts, right? It's not just that you bought Bitcoin back in, 2012 or something like that. It's when did you sell it, right? And so it's like, did you have the conviction to see that 10x and, oh, I'm not going to sell the 10x, right? I'm waiting for the 1000x, right? 99.9% of people are going to, sell at the 10x, or, because these things are so cyclical and crypto is very, it's an internet technology that's prone to these kind of crazy up cycles and kind of crazy down cycles. You saw that up cycle, it came way back down and you still didn't sell it, right? Because buying early is one thing, but then also knowing when to sell is that second part that's key, and it's why you don't see too many 1000x folks out there.
And I always connect because I come from TradFi like yourself, right? So I understand the trade aspect, but I've got a philosophical side to me as well. So I see that the crazy people, they are so rare, right? And the only reason they are able to achieve that 1000x is they understand the trade, but at the same time, they understand the philosophical aspect, much more nuanced, softer aspect of how things can shape up. They are taking bet on that, even though they understand the trade. So if I see, like, I could be wrong, but I like to believe that if you get one side really well, which is trade and not the bigger picture, or get the bigger picture, but you don't get the trade, this does not work. This will not work. You need to get both the sides. And the only way to achieve that side, both the sides, are you have to be very consumed by it. And once you get obsessed by it, right, those kind of things happen. We try and be logical. It generally does not work for 1000x.
Yeah, I think I think like so like yourself being around the crypto ecosystem for a while, you kind of start to talk to a lot of people and understand their ethos and kind of what brought them to the space. If I were to say what my North Star is, like why I've been in this space for 10 years, it's because I think this is financial rails for the internet, right? Like I've seen how it works in TradFi today. It's a lot more inefficient than a lot of people probably think. It's a lot of stored procedures and SQL databases going on all over the place. And so, financial rails for the internet, that could be anything from, launching tokens with asset issuance, secondary markets through DeFi. It could be payments with stable coins. It could be cross-border payments where you don't have to worry about a lot of the friction that existed before we had crypto. And so that's my North Star. But there are a lot of people that have other kind of ethos and ideas that brought them to the space, right? So there are a lot of people that believe that this is a coordination technology at the end of the day, and that the nation states of the future will be built on permissionless digital rails, right? If we were gonna kind of create a nation from scratch, we want to use the best tools for the job. And a lot of people are kind of very motivated and galvanized by this idea that smart contracts can be a way to codify rules that everybody kind of believes and kind of goes along with, which is great. And then if you even want to go one level higher than that, a lot of people make the analogy that believing in something like Bitcoin is almost akin to something like a religion, right? It it has this spiritual, mysterious founder from way back in the day that is no longer around, but they have a white paper or a book that is the gospel. And so, there are these different crypto ethos that kind of bring folks to the space. And that's kind of what you need, when you're going to, quit your, great traditional finance job and plunge all into this kind of crazy internet sector that we're all in.
That is so true. And with Digital Duniya, we like to hear all kind of voice, right? Our mission is we are capturing tomorrow's stories today, right? So it's so powerful. And I feel that stories have got a really mysterious side to it, right? We don't know how it travels, where it travels. And that's the power of it. I came to this vision randomly. I didn't plan for it with what we are doing. My story started back in 2013, my brother, he's 10 years younger to me. He came up to me with Bitcoin, and being a TradFi, I was a skeptic. I asked him 2-3 foundational questions. He was not able to answer it. And I'm like, this is scam, just go away. Things happen again in 17, just before ICO. And I was a little bit interested, but not interested. Jump into 2018. I read a research article from University of Singapore. They were talking about smart contracts, decentralized finance, decentralized autonomous organizations, and it hit me. And my journey actually started from that point, and I just went into that rabbit hole deeper and deeper. And I just felt that by 2023, I was ready. This is all I want to do. And this is why we are doing this, capturing tomorrow's stories today.
I love that. Yeah, I'd be curious to see that paper. When I joined Consensus back in 2017, 2018, one of my jobs was actually to kind of fly around the world and educate people on Ethereum, on smart contracts, and talk through different use cases. So I was in Singapore. We had a big project in Singapore with the Singapore Land Authority, basically making a land registry that was all smart contract based. We actually had a similar project in Chandigarh in India to do something similar as well. And then if you can actually go and Google one from the United Kingdom, it's up on YouTube somewhere where me and somebody from their land registry is talking about an Ethereum based land registry where every plot of land is an NFT, right? And so you can see the provenance of that land through time. If there are land disputes, right, like you can always check on chain for that kind of history of ownership. I think that land registry use case is getting some traction kind of around the world, but never really took off. Not like DeFi or token issuance or stable coins. But maybe one day it will. We'll see.
Yeah, it's so sorry, I got a little sidetracked because I got excited. When did you do that in Singapore? Was it 2018 or 17?
I'd have to look it up. It was probably 2018 or 2019, something around there. We had Consensus had a contract to educate, and then we also built out an application for what it would take to do a land registry on top of Ethereum smart contracts. Pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's fascinating. I think a couple of years ago, there was one state in India which started doing registry on blockchain. So if I could be wrong, but I think they were using Polygon, but can't be too sure. But yeah, it was a headline news. So it's
Yep.
happening. What you thought about in 2019, 18 is happening.
Love it.
Cool. Now let's move on to something spicy and interesting. Flavor of the year, flavor of the month, especially in last 6 months since gold is AI agents, right? So let's talk about AI agent now. Bringing back Banker, right? So I've been looking at Banker since very early days, probably second or third day it was launched, and I saw that, and they you mentioned Deployer, right? So I've been following him as well. So he was making posts, and I was reading it, and it sounds interesting, but I was not sure how this problem is going to get solved. Fast forward today, we have got Heian trying to do something same with prompt based, right? So, and then there are a few other projects trying to do the same thing, right? What do you think? Creating a token with Clanker is easy, but transactions, right? Creating a wallet and executing it. So, what are the key things for look out for in regards to what that bot or AI agent should be capable of doing? A, B, what Banker can do and cannot do as of now.
Yeah. So, so I've known, the Clanker guys and the Banker folks for a while. I spend a lot of time over on Farcaster as well, which is like a crypto enabled, version of Twitter or X. And if you want to know what everybody else is going to be using on X, 2 months from now, be on Farcaster, because that's kind of where a lot of the early builders go and kind of start bootstrapping their products and bootstrapping their user base and testing to see what works. You don't have to worry about like Twitter API limits. Yeah, you have built-in wallets into the application. You have mini apps, and so you can kind of get users super easily. And so, if you want to be ahead of the curve and kind of know what the builders and tinkers are playing around with and what's going to be next, I recommend joining Farcaster. But Banker and Clanker are two great examples of AI agents that went after a couple of the most important functions in crypto. So if you zoom way out, crypto kind of has product market fit in asset issuance, right? So new types of assets. They could be ICOs, they could be DeFi protocol tokens, NFTs, meme coins, asset issuance, and getting those into the market. The second thing is the secondary market or DeFi activity, right? The Uniswaps of the world, the Aves of the world, anything that you can kind of do with those assets for issuance. Lastly, you have kind of payments and commerce as well, and stablecoins that's also kind of getting product market fit. And so Clanker was one of the first agents, virtuals as well, but Clanker was one of the first that said, hey, we're going to make asset issuance through an AI agent so easy that anybody can reply to a tweet or a post on Farcaster and automatically create a coin. You can trust the smart contract. We're going to make sure that the liquidity is locked, and so it's kind of has kind of anti-rug mechanisms built in there as well. And then, the tokens kind of get distributed in a way, and then it's kind of off and it's running. And I think they're still, launching several hundred, several thousand tokens a day with that functionality, right? And so instead of a human doing it, an AI agent is making that frictionless and super easy to do on X and on Farcaster. Banker is doing the same thing for that DeFi and secondary market activity, right? And so I think you might still be able to launch tokens through Banker, but their primary function is they give you an embedded wallet. You can deposit capital in there. You can say, hey, I just saw this meme coin pop up in my timeline. Go buy me some of that. Hey, this project looks cool. Can you buy me some of that? And it's as frictionless as it can be because you're already spending your time on X. You're right there. And then now that you have the AI agent to handle all the messy crypto bits, signing of transactions and knowing you're interacting with the right smart contract and keeping track of your balances, all of that, the AI agent is kind of taken care of. And so, those two primary functions of crypto with asset issuance and then that secondary and DeFi activity, those are my favorite two AI agent projects in the space that have handled those. For Gigbot, what we're looking at is more on the AI commerce side. So that third bucket of payments and being able to send transactions back and forth. And so, we'll get to Gigbot in a second, but that's kind of the lay of the land at the moment.
No, it's really good you brought in Gigbot because I wanted to segue into it using as a comparison, right? So what Clanker does, what Banker does is really amazing. I get that, right? But if I was trying to think critically about it and remove the fluff, right? Okay, it's okay there are many agents where you can launch a token, or there will be many agents where you can trade tokens, right? I don't see I want some much more stronger use case, which is going to actually relate to many other things. So that's where for me, Gigbot comes in, right? If I was thinking, and not because I'm talking to you in a general thought process point of view, Gigbot is doing a very unique job, which if it nails it out, can be a huge USP. And that could be used for many different sources going forward, right? Whereas what Clanker does or what Banker does is very unique as of now, but the journey from unique to generic is going to be really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I could be wrong, but that's how I'm processing that. But what Gigbot is doing is very unique, and it may get generic, it may not, but once it nails that, just for a gig on X or whatever gig they are trying to solve, they can apply the same thing for many other things. So it's much more portable, and it still gets its niche again and again. This is my thought process. Giving it back to you, do you agree, or do you see that framework?
Yeah, I totally agree. There's kind of an old adage in fintech, and I'm going to butcher it, but it goes something like it's only like 20% of people really care at all about like trading in the stock market or have Robinhood or wants to play around with financial stuff, all day long, right? There's 80% of people that couldn't care less about that type of thing, and 20% of people that like it a lot. A lot of them end up finding crypto because of those dominant use cases I mentioned, right? Like it is a very financialized type space to begin with. But how many people do you know, what percentage of people use payments? 100%, right? Like everybody is, paying for their groceries, paying somebody back, paying their friends, splitting the bill at the restaurant. Everybody uses payments. They don't think about it, right? Because they want it to just work. But everybody kind of uses payments at the end of the day. And so, one of the reasons I kind of started this was, if we believe that, crypto is going to be the financial rails for the entire internet, we can do a lot more than just creating meme coin tokens and trading them back and forth, right? We can actually create an entire commerce system that's digitally native. And so what does that kind of look like? So with Gigbot, it's really just a bounties platform or a jobs platform. So think Upwork or Fiverr or even DoorDash or, Uber, right? Like anything where you're kind of like exchanging money for some kind of good or service. But what we've done with Gigbot is we've made it internet native. We've made sure that AI agents and humans are both invited to the table, right? And so we're not trying to block out all the AI agents, and we're not saying it's just for them either. We actually don't even care kind of who completes tasks on Gigbot. It could be AI or it could be human, and we'll see how that evolves over time as AI agents gain more capabilities. But basically, you go onto gig.bot. If you want to start earning crypto tokens right away, right? You don't want to go to Uniswap and start trading them, and that's a very stressful game, but you kind of want to get some crypto exposure. You can always go to gig.bot and you can see the different tasks that are right there on the homepage that you can kind of go and complete, right? A lot of them are social media or on-chain tasks today. So go follow this person on X, or go retweet this tweet, or go, hold this token and you're going to get additional rewards. Go mint this NFT and you're going to get some rewards. So all these things are ways to basically make money on the internet. A lot of people take a look at that and they may even get excited about it and then end up creating an AI agent that can kind of help them fulfill some of these tasks, right? And so, we just look at a Twitter account or we look at a Farcaster account. It could be a human, a bot, it could be an AI agent that's acting independently. We're just excited about getting people earning crypto and kind of getting into the space without having to go through that speculative type trading game. And so it really is the easiest way to kind of start earning tokens. You don't even need to set up your own wallet. You can actually do everything you need to do from X. And you can kind of you can go on our website and see how you can just claim your tokens right away. And then you're kind of starting to make money. And it's really that easy. So that's one side of the market. On the other side of the market is the people that are posting tasks. So these are users that either are building something or run a token project or are a marketing lead for a token project. And they want to kind of amplify either their social presence or they want to have people kind of try their product. And so they create these gigs. We now have about 100 or so that are getting created a day. And then there's a whole bunch of folks on the other side that are earning these tokens. And so we've started out with some of these social media and on-chain tasks. But like you mentioned, really anything you want to do on the internet or any kind of service you provide, you can create a gig for it at some point. And so we're excited for, everybody's kind of talking about DeFi or DeFi agents. We're excited for just commerce, having agents, interacting back and forth on internet rails, and using crypto to do that is, we're not doing it just for the sake of using crypto. Like it's the easiest way to get these, one Twitter account interacting with another, right? You don't have to worry about bank accounts or any of that. And, where are you based in the world and all that kind of thing. It's just easy wallet to wallet commerce. And so that's what gets us excited.
My mind is floating in the ocean of imagination, and I don't know, help me if I am trying to articulate it and if I fail somewhere. I think I'm seeing Gigbot in my vision as Amazon of 1995 to 2000. They were trying to sell books, right? But they were in a distribution business. Eventually, they figured it out, right? So it's not just about books. It could be anything. So what I see in my point of view as of today is you're trying to solve 100 projects or whoever that is, whether it's a marketing gig or token gig, technical tasks, right? They're coming in. But the vision can be so broad that it can be applied to so many things that I can't even think of now. Right. So the reason I'm bringing back Clanker and Banker, even though they are amazing and cool as of now, I'm struggling to connect it with a grander vision where it can be applied to so many things in so many different ways that it becomes really powerful. Am I thinking right, or am I missing something over here?
No, I think you're right. I think, I think in general, the amount of AI agents that have some sort of crypto wallet and can therefore transact is going to continue to go up and up and up. So they're going to need the type of services that, especially Banker offers with just, oh, I have to pay in, the Banker token and not USDC. So can I swap that real quick before I start transacting? And so I think it's going to be interesting to see that kind of space evolve. In terms of Gigbot, we started with these social media tasks and these on-chain tasks because they're decently easy. And they're also what the competency of the AI agents are today, right? But we also know that the competency of these agents keeps improving every 3 months, right? I'm astonished every time there's a new model that comes out and what they can do. So to give you a little tease of kind of where we're kind of going next, so we've been running a couple interesting, like kind of cutting edge type gigs. And so we're doing things like, hey, design a meme that is going to get this community excited, reply to this tweet with it, post it, and then based on kind of how the kind of voting kind of works for that, we have a whole bunch of AI agents, humans, both kind of creating memes now, right? Because like AI agents are getting better at doing that, right? Like the newest ChatGPT release, like completely opened up image generation. I think we've all seen it on our timelines. The other one that we actually did was actually even do a vibe coding application about a particular project. And so it could be a small data analytics site, or it could be a marketing site, or it could be an education site related to a project. And now with Lovable and Bolt and Replit Agent, you can actually have humans or again AI agents that actually build an entire static website, and they posted it to my bounty, and then 5 of them kind of basically won the pot through Gigbot, all from creating a. So we've opened up website design, we've opened up image generation, we've opened up graphic design, illustrations, kind of the whole gamut. And so I mentioned Upwork and Fiverr earlier because it's a similar type of job or bounty platform. But if you kind of go down the list there of the different functions, you can kind of see where ChatGPT and Sonnet and some of these other models kind of start getting more and more of those capabilities. And so as they mature, you'll see the types of gigs on Gigbot becoming more complex and more involved, which is something we're really excited about.
And that is what gets me excited. The more evolve, you are the founder, you are building it. I'm getting excited. I don't know why, but because I'm thinking it again, as we wrap this segment up, it can have an opportunity to do a lot more nominal tasks in one segment, but it can also have an opportunity to do something really unique and special to us, right? So if I want education, if I want financial advice, if I want someone to do big write-up, right, job, those are, I think, the small and fun stuff is really interesting. I completely agree. But I think the bigger opportunity might come from much more specialized and tailored approach. Do you think it's a fair thought?
I definitely do. Actually, so another little sneak peek is our Gigbot bot on X. In the next week or two, you're going to actually be able to create gigs just from interacting with Gigbot. And so if you just interact with Gigbot, tell it what you want, it'll create a gig, and then you'll have people that are doing it. And so when I'm going around trying to promote it, I'm basically just going to go on there and find some big accounts, because everybody likes to talk about their ideas. Somebody should build, a site that looks at, all the X usage around, the AI images. Like, can somebody set up a data analytics site for that, right? So I could reply and say, Gigbot, here's $100, create a gig for whoever creates the best version of that analytics site, and post it here, right? Somebody might have a startup idea and say like, hey, I want to do a battery delivery business, right? Like, how would I do that? You can respond and say, hey, Gigbot, like create a business plan for how you would do this, and then what's your go-to-market strategy? And then you have all these different kind of agents competing to kind of make that idea into reality. And so I tend to think that that's the world that we're moving towards, is just like very, very frictionless way of getting things done, of building things, especially software, eventually the physical world as well. And I think a lot of that thing that would have required a 10-person team requires a tweet now, right? Like we've literally committed the first 6 months of a startup into a tweet. And that's the type of productivity and efficiency kind of gains that gets me so excited about the AI agent space as well as the crypto space to make that happen.
This is so exciting. I promise this is the last one. Let's turn it around, right? So I just thought, how about is this possible, and what is the potential? So I'm going to talk about Digital Duniya, right? So if I go back to Gigbot and say that obviously we've got proof of work from YouTube and all the social media, right? What we do is there. If we say that we are open to do explainer video or a newsletter or something on those lines, can we, rather than posting a job, can we put out an advert saying that if you need this kind of things, you can look us up? The reverse of what currently is happening.
Sorry. So what do you mean? Put out an ad that says what?
Yeah. So as I understand from our conversation so far, anyone wanting a task to be done, Gigbot is a place for them to go and advertise. If we reverse that, I am able to do the task, right? We can do a podcast, we can do a newsletter, we can do an explainer video, but actually going and using Gigbot, decide this is our core strength and this is what we can deliver and this is our proof of work, please reach out if you want a task to be done. Is that
Oh, I see
possible?
what you mean. I see what you mean. I think so. I think like, I would do it as something where it's like, here's an up and coming crypto project. They want better coverage about it. They want it explained in a kind of like a clear manner. That could easily be a gig, that, you guys could fulfill. I will say, little alpha drop here at the end. What we will do, once this gets posted is we'll have a gig to promote it on X. Maybe we'll have a gig to make sure that people subscribe to the YouTube channel. Maybe we'll have a gig that has people sign up for the newsletter. And so, as part of this interview, you will actually use Gigbot to kind of help get this thing out onto various channels as well too. So we'll be dog fooding the application, on the back end of this podcast, which should be fun for some viewers.
This is so exciting, and I'm so curious because I've got a really weak technical side, but I've got a really strong conceptual side. So that's where I struggle. So I'm going to pick you up on side. Now, what I want to do is, as we jump into the last segment, I want us all to see the demo of Gigbot, right? So back to you, Corbin. You have got as much time as you want, no rush. Give us the best version of Gigbot.
So it might have updated a little bit since you saw the last demo in ETH Denver. But yeah, so this is Gigbot. Also works quite well on mobile. If you also are already on Farcaster, we're also a mini app, so you can go on there as a mini app and kind of we have really easy task creation. And so when you hop on here, the first thing you can do is kind of understand the types of things that you can complete to start earning your first crypto tokens, right? So I didn't even create this. Somebody created a job where you can earn about $10 worth of Banker. We have a lot of jobs for degen. The degen token is really popular on here, USDC as well. And so you can see the different types of tasks here on the left side. When we say boost tweet, you basically can go to the tweet and then you retweet and like said tweet. So you can see the types of engagement that Gigbot drives, because this was posted, I think, earlier this morning. And so for a marketing lead, this is your way to amplify any type of signal for your project, amplify project announcements or anything else. We also end up having a lot of follow account gigs. So this is another common social one on both Farcaster and X. So introducing a bunch of new folks to these different accounts that have paid for it. And then let me see here. Here's like an on chain gig. So as the market was experiencing a lot of volatility this week, somebody created a gig to basically say, hey, don't overreact. I know the tendency is to overreact when things are kind of going very, very red. But if you're still holding degen, we're actually going to drop you some rewards for continuing to hold degen. And so all these folks on here, came in here with their degen holdings and are actually earning a little bit of token incentives for not overreacting. Basically, for having they're getting paid for having diamond hands, which is a cool one. For on-chain tasks, we also have gigs to buy a certain token. So if a token launches through Clanker or another kind of token launch platform, you can create a gig to basically say, hey, I want to find my first 1,000 holders. If you go buy this token, I will, double the amount that you bought, or I will give you kind of some rewards for helping me to bootstrap my holders. So this is a way of basically introducing your project to communities and kind of pulling them into your project. So they get excited about it. They start learning about the lore, who created the token, why was it created, and can kind of pull them into your community is kind of is the purpose. And then lastly is one that we're kind of releasing here soon is custom bounties. So when we were talking about having AI agents code an entire website, or to create, design collateral, or to do market research, or to create an infographic, or create a logo, all these types of things, you can create a custom bounty to kind of specify anything. And it's a very open-ended task that you're going to get a whole bunch of folks kind of swarming to do. So so we just released creating a new gig publicly 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is why we have so many new gigs on the site, is because now it's kind of open access. So my quick little ending thing. Oh, one last thing is that you can actually claim all your rewards straight through interacting with Gigbot. And so if you hit up Gigbot and say claim my rewards in your wallet address, we actually send everything to you all via X. So a lot of people get frustrated with the different how hard crypto is to use sometime with connecting your wallet and making sure you're using the right address and all that kind of thing. With Gigbot, you can do everything on X or on Farcaster if you choose to. So we want to make it super simple. So yeah, just to round it out, if you want to earn crypto tokens, it's super easy. Just come here, look at all the different tasks, complete the tasks, and start earning tokens right away. If you do that and really enjoy it, and you want to get a little bit more involved and actually create different tasks to say, follow you on X or, boost and get a bunch of retweets on your tweets, start playing around with creating gigs because, it's a really cool ecosystem that's in the early days. But yeah, usage has been kind of off the charts over the past few weeks. So I've been trying to keep up with all that. But yeah, that's the application.
That's really exciting. I'm going to ask you, is it possible for us to record live demo when we want to post something, a task or anything, and then see the whole end-to-end process of posting it and someone doing it and claiming it, because that will be a full circle.
Yeah, we can even record posting a gig to get the recording to be circled more widely.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, because I think that's very unique and most people would like to know about it. And what I see many times is we get some comments and some responses, especially for when we talk about things and we try and explain it. And that is so interesting, but people get lost. How do I actually do it? Can you do us a demo? Can you show us how to do that? Or can you do another one to follow that up? And this is one of the most common requests that we get.
Yeah. Should we do one now?
Yeah. I'm good if you got time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're on here, why don't we do a boost on X, I think would be best. And so if you take in a look here, basically you can see all the details about the gig. So there are 2,000 DGen rewards that are going to be distributed to everybody that likes and reposts this tweet. And if you scroll down here, the gig is open for 1 day. And if you scroll down here, you can actually already see all the people that have completed it up until now. And so if I hop over here and repost and it takes about 30 minutes, and then I'll see my name kind of pop up here once our agent has scraped X to kind of show that. And then once I do that, I then can go to my profile, and you can see I can claim all my rewards. And so you can claim on X, like I mentioned before, just by posting this, or you can kind of claim right here on the site is kind of the idea. And yeah, that's kind of the key activity circle that a bunch of people go through. You can see all the different completed tasks here under the activity as well too. So it's really that easy to kind of start earning your crypto tokens. One of my goals is to be, the very first source that people kind of start holding crypto. For a lot of people in this world that have missed some of these past cycles we've talked about, one of my goals is to kind of be one of the ways that kind of the next cycle's first users will be able to kind of get their first crypto. And so
that's thank you, Corbin, for doing this. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
No big final thoughts. For anybody listening out there, give Gigbot a try. It's a lot of fun. And then, don't be too jaded by the volatility this year. We've really made more progress this year than any year in the past. It just hasn't really been reflected in token prices. So it's actually not a bad time to get into the space because, later on, back half of this year, next year, are going to be a lot of fun. But if you want to start earning your first crypto today, check out Gigbot.
Lovely. And final thought on Digital Duniya Podcast. How was your experience? What's your feel? And you can be neutral or whatever comes to your mind. You can be critical as well.
I enjoyed the life story aspect of it. I hope my life isn't too boring for it.
Well, the way I see it, every life story is very unique, and that's why it's very interesting, because we're living in time where everyone likes formula. So whatever works, everyone wants to keep on doing the same thing, and hopefully we don't get at some point in the same rag again. At least our goal is not to fall there. So Thank you once again for participating. Really enjoy talking to you. And I don't know, very excited and bullish about Gigbot, and we're going to cover your journey from outside. And our industry moves at such fast pace, right? So 6 months is like 10 years, right, in normal world. So I'm sure there will be new changes, new updates, and new stories coming up with Gigbot, and we'll circle back and cover them on Digital Duniya Podcast.
Absolutely. I'd love that.
Lovely. Thank you once again, and keep on doing the good work. दोस्तों, ये था मज़ेदार एपिसोड विद गिगबॉट फाउंडर कॉर्बिन पेज. उनका ट्विटर प्रोफाइल, उनकी वेबसाइट सब डिस्क्रिप्शन में आ जाएगा. मेक श्योर यू गो एंड चेक देम आउट. हमें यूँ ही फॉलो करते रहिए और मज़ीद डिजिटल खजानों की खोज में. अगली बार तक सवाल करते रहो, एक्सप्लोर करते रहो द डिजिटल दुनिया. नमस्कार. थैंक यू.